Hello, how is it going? Gennaro here, CEO of Cortex Solutions, and we're going to be talking about security operations centers, but managing them. So let's go right into it. As we know, a SOC, and we talked about this before, but we have our SOC analysts. We have the ability to identify and detect threats and also analyze them a little bit more in depth, maybe using a few sandboxes even. And then all in all, what we're really trying to do is learn and implement better ways to respond to these different cyber incidents. Now, the functions of a SOC. Well, as we know, and as it stands, that a SOC will have multiple functions to it. One end, you are monitoring and detecting. Right? So a SOC team itself, they're going to use like a SIEM. Now, they sometimes may use SOAR as well too, but usually a tool such as Splunk will do the job. And then you have the responding to the actual incidents as well. Now, there are a lot of commercial tools out there that are solely for EDR as well, endpoint detection and response too. But keep in mind, the function of a SOC is how can I utilize some of the threat intel? And we talked about the CTIS before, we talked about intelligence platforms and these sharing centers. But how can we take this information, collect it, and analyze it, and then be proactive in our threat hunting, and be proactive in our search, and be proactive in, well, let me understand, how can we monitor real time? And we put all that into play because those key roles, SOC analysts, level 1, incident responders, level 2, they all play a very vital key role, and that is to keep that management cycle, going. So the different architectures. Think about centralized and decentralized. Centralized is a unified intelligence sharing. Maybe they have one central ISAC hub, right? Maybe they are sharing resources. Maybe they already have their multi-tenant type of cloud structure already put into place, where they have private and some public as well. And then you have your decentralized. Now this is, localized instead of unified. It's kind of saying we have a distributed network, not just one single management hub like our centralized SOC would do. EDR, very important to utilize. Understanding that we need to know what's actually on the system, like weakness-wise, vulnerability-wise. So using Nessus scanners will give us exactly what is there, what's available for us, what we should know about the actual tool itself, and how can we implement something different? How can we utilize the output that we gain from our Nessus scans to help us mitigate some of these threats? There are some challenges though when it comes to SOCs, right? So you have your alert fatigue because there could be tons of alerts depending upon how many clients the organization has. There could be a lack of actual qualified, trained professionals in the field. And that could be just a resource mismanagement where we're spending a lot on these tools, but not necessarily getting the right, return on investment, if you will. Now, to have a effective incident management life cycle, keep in mind we do have our IRPs, right? It's all about identifying, like detecting the actual threat, containing it, eradicating the threat, taking it out. And then how can we recover from this? What are our backups like? And we talked about this before. What do our backups look like? Are they offsite, on-site, on-prem, right? And then the lessons learned. You create reports. You're taking the documentation that you've used throughout your entire investigation, entire case, because you do have that ability to write into a case file. Because a lot of the times as a forensic analyst, what will happen is, because you're usually on that team with SOC, or you can be, contracted out, you're utilizing all these different tools that a forensic analyst would. And then you have your mean time to detect, mean time to respond. And we talked about this before as well, too, how long it takes to actually identify the incident. If we have a very short time, that's a good metric. This is good. We can have a good KPI basically saying, hey, we want to reduce our mean time to detect by 20%, like 30%. Same thing with our mean time to respond. How quickly are we able to take actions on objectives? How quickly are we able to detect that there's something actually there and being able to actually stop that? So continually learning, continually training. There is something in TryHackMe called SOC Simulator. I would definitely recommend checking that out. It gives you in real time actual alerts, a case. Like I mentioned, you have a whole kind of a way to write in about your case, about the incident. And if you have commercial tools as well that you utilize within the organization, like Cisco AMP, you have that ability to do so as well to create cases and DNS filtering. All right, so you have that ability. It's all about continually training, utilizing the red teaming and blue teaming like we talked about to get a better sense and understanding of how well can we defend within our network. You can outsource as well for SOCs too. Now there's a compliance piece. Of course, there are always going to be compliance. So GDPR compliance within SOC. So you have to ensure that PII is encrypted when you're using these systems that are associated with the SOC. You have to make sure that they're monitored, staying GDPR compliant, especially when it comes to using that credit card information. Now, one of the other things is when we're looking to be proactive, like we talked about before within our advanced threat hunting, it's all about being able to find what's not actually there. Okay. All right. So a lot of the times someone may bypass a firewall, may be able to turn on and off a port. Sometimes they may be able to even implement a backdoor, a rootkit even. But there's a process. When we do proactively threat hunting, we're relying on that MITRE ATT&CK framework, like we talked about before. It goes from reconnaissance to weaponization. And we're using these different resources like Elk Stack, like we talked about before, or Elasticsearch. We're using all these different understandings, the threat intel. We're using all these different metrics and KPIs to give us a better chance at being proactive at, stopping these cyber threats and stopping these cyber attacks. Again, it's been great. Gennaro, CEO of Cortex Solutions, and we just talked about SOC management, part by ACSMI. Hope you have a great one. Take care.